Welcome to my guides to cycle touring. Now we've seen those people out on the road, haven't we? Everything they seem to own, strapped on the bike, just heading out there for an adventure. Quite daunting if you're thinking about doing that yourself. What do you take, what do you not take, and all the rest of it. Where do you stay, what are the problems you might encounter and how to get around them. Now I'm not going to list all the places I've been to and all the things I've done because that would be incredibly boring, but what I have done over these last few years is picked up a wealth of experience on how to cycle tour successfully. You can't plan for everything that's going to happen, but planning is a massive key part in it. So I'm going to give you loads of tips and hints as we go along, so strap in, get yourself pen and paper, write down a few bits and pieces as we go along, and I'll start with two straight away. Even if it's a summer tour, you're going to need a raincoat. This German military Gore-Tex raincoat, perfect. Because it's military, it's made for going over a tin hat, which means the hood is massive and fits perfectly over a cycle helmet. Absolutely brilliant. Lightweight Gore-Tex, fantastic. Next one, get yourself a bright coloured foam cover. Because if you're in the UK, obviously if you're on the continent you'll have your passport with you, but if you're in the UK doing a cycle tour, Land's End to John O'Groats for instance, you get knocked off your bike, you're unconscious, or even worse, in the ditch. Bright red, that's going to stand out. And of course nobody's going to be able to unlock your phone, so on the inside cover of your phone, emergency contact details. People are going to want to know what's happened to you. Right, so I've said this is not going to be a holiday video. I might have said that, but this is not going to be a holiday video. This is going to be following me through a cycle tour, and I'll give you lots of hints and tips as we go along. But just to give you a clue as to where we're going, here on the old computer I have a map. I live between London and Cambridge. I'll be going south down to Newhaven, across to Dieppe, cross country through France, hitting the coast by Dunkirk, up through Belgium, Holland to Rotterdam, getting the ferry back, and then there will be another video later on because my son and I, who's only 14, will be going all the way down to Cornwall on another trip. So anyway, without any further ado, let's get outside, start looking at the bike and go through a few things you might want to take and a few things you might not want to take. Right, outside. Bye-bye. So hopefully weeks and weeks and weeks before you actually go on your trip, you'll have worked out what you need to take. Now a good week or so before you go on your trip, maybe even a few more weeks before you go on a trip, get everything laid out on the ground, fit it on your bike, make sure you know which bits go where, and put them in the right order. So your toolkit, for instance, it's no good putting that at the bottom of everything. You don't want to be emptying everything out onto the roadside to get to your puncture repair kit. So I'm not going to list everything I'm carrying, but I'll go through just one or two things that some people might overlook. Now, that toolkit. Down here in your toolkit, zip ties, insulating tape. There are so many things you can fix at the side of the road with zip ties and insulating tape. Long nose pliers, you've got your wire cutters in there, flat bladed screwdriver, Swiss Army knife, that goes in there as well, spoke tightener, universal spoke tightener, Allen keys if your bike is held together with Allen bolts, inner tube, and your puncture repair kit, tyre levers, glue. And the thing that some people actually forget is there's no point having a puncture repair kit and all your tyre levers if you don't take a pump with the right adapter on it. Make sure it's got the right adapter for your tyres. Bin bags, you might wonder what on earth are the bin bags here for. Even if it's the summer as it is now, put everything in bin bags, all your clothes in bin bags, and then put them in the panniers on your bike. If it rains, you don't want to be worrying about the water going through the sides of your panniers and making all your clothes wet. And also what I've got, some of these panniers come with a pannier rain cover. Well, use it. Even when it's sunny, use it. It's bright yellow, bright green, bright silver, whatever one you happen to get. It's all about being seen, isn't it? You don't want to get hit. So I'm going to try and pack all that, the tent, clothes, the lot, on the bike, and we'll take it from there. That, my friends, is just about that when it comes to packing the back end of the bike. Bungee straps onto the pannier rack at the front, right round pannier rack at the back, holding everything on nice and tight, and there's your pink towel That's why we have a pink towel or any bright coloured towel, because it's going to help you be seen, and that's going to help you stay alive. And then we have the raincoat cover as well. It doesn't need to be raining to use a rain cover, but it is going to help us be seen, which is what we're trying to do here. We want to be seen, we want to stay alive. These bungee straps, fantastic things. Take a couple of spares, tuck them in with your toolkit, and you're just about ready to go. Obviously there are the things on the day, like your water bottles and all your instructions, your Garmin's or whatever little gizmos you might have. But I would say the bike really does put some weight on. Mine doubles in weight. So take a little bit of time to just feel the weight of the bike, the way it swings, the way it manoeuvres. Take it for a little ride down your local road, all fully loaded up. Don't go out your first day of your long distance tour, your first ever long distance tour, with all that kit on the back, having never ridden it before. Get a feel for it. And do make sure everything's nicely secured, and on the day all your zips are done up. You don't want to be getting to a campsite and find out you've left your tent pegs 15, 20 miles down the road. So that is about it. Be seen, have a great time. Well, onwards and upwards, away we go on the tour. So it's the morning of your ride and you're just about ready to go. You've loaded all your bike up with all the stuff I mentioned yesterday, and I'll just add a few more bits and pieces into that. Might be a few more bits and pieces I remember as we go along during the ride. So what I've added on to the list is some toilet roll. Never been caught out myself, but it doesn't bear thinking about being caught out on the road. So small roll of toilet roll and some wet wipes. Wet wipes not for the toilet, but if your chain comes off you're going to get filthy oily hands, and wet wipes are fantastic for sort of degreasing your fingers. Now a couple of tips on which bits to put where on your bike. This top bag for me is going to have my tent and my ready bed on top, so I won't be going in there during the day. So that is where I put my passport, my e-hic card, my euros because I'm going to Europe, and all my travel documents. So that's going to be in part of the bag, part of the pannier bag that I won't go into during the day. So I won't have that sort of panic set about me going like, oh, did I leave my passport on the bench where we stopped for a Mars bar and a can of Coke, because it's in there, I won't be touching it. And then this pannier bag is the easiest one to get to during the day. So that's where I've got, right here, my locks rattling around, snacks, raincoat, should I need it, things like that. And my clean clothes, cycling gear for next days are in there. So that's about it. I'll jibber jabber on a few extra tips and hints as we go along, but down there, down there, down there, and then we go. We start our solo ride. That's what it's all about. 6 or so miles in, take a stop, check the security of your load, make sure everything's still there, everything's not shifted. Now I had to do half a dozen or so miles on the main road between Thaxted and Dunmow, if you know where that is. 9:15 in the morning, it's just 9:30 now. Busy as hell, really busy. It's one of those nasty, slightly main roads, but not terrifically main roads, just wide enough for cars to think that they can squeeze past you with cars coming the other way without regulating their speed, so you get people 2 feet off your handlebar going at 50 miles an hour. Not exactly ideal. I've cut off of that onto this road, as I say, 9:30 in the morning. Much better. We'll have some more information about choosing your roads carefully when we get to France. Okay, so check your load and hit the road. And so we reach an important point in day one. It's not exactly an important point geographically, although it's quite a pretty spot. An important point is when you've just passed the halfway point. Any nerves, trepidation you might have had about your trip to this point, you just got to think, I'm closer to the campsite number 1 than I am to going home. So leave all those worries behind you, all those thoughts about, oh, I've got to give in, I've got to turn back. It's shorter to carry on. Well done. Good mental point to get to in your ride. Made it down to Tilbury, a bit blowy, but I'm standing here on the site where Turner painted one of his most famous paintings, the Fighting Temeraire, from just here facing that way. Now he painted a picture in 1838 of the Temeraire being towed to the It it's a bit sort of taking a bit of artistic license really, because it shows mast and cannon and sail and all that sort of thing, but it had all been removed at Sheerness, and the sun was setting in the east when it would have been setting in the west, but it was a damn good picture all the same. Now, it was about 44 years later that Tilbury Docks grew up, and that was to combat the St Catherine's Dock further up the Thames. But convenient little car ferry here for me to get across to Gravesend. Got my passport ready to get into Kent. And away we go, carry on going. It's good to have these little historical bits and pieces as you go along. I like it anyway. Right, Kent, here we come. Well, we don't tend to go cycling in the winter, do we? Because we want to be inside with our tea and biscuits. We go cycling in the summer. So another top tip as we go along, double water bottles on your bike. They're 750ml water bottles. I've near enough done the 2 of those today, and a 2 litre bottle of water that I've bought in a shop as I've gone along. So don't let your water bottles run completely out. Keep yourself well hydrated, but that just goes to show you how much liquid you can get through. I've done around about 60 miles today, 3.5 litres of water, and I haven't been for a wee yet. So there we go, another top tip. The end of day one, I've arrived at my campsite. I sorted out all my camping places before I set out. You need to know where you're going to camp, where you're going to eat. Don't just try and wing it, it won't work. This is a lovely little campsite, Rootham Heath in Kent. It's called the Gatehouse, only about 30 pitches, and more importantly than that, it's got a beautiful little, very clean, very modern shower block, which is what you need at the end of the day's riding. And the other thing you need is food. And I know there's a beef eater just a quarter of a mile down the road, so that's where I'm going, because I'm starving. Well, I'm all packed up and ready to go. You might be able to hear some traffic noise in the background, although this is a very quiet campsite. There's a bit of traffic noise in the background. Luckily, I went to bed really early yesterday because I was cream crackered, but I was woken up with the traffic on the motorway. So, sun's just coming up over there, 5:20 in the morning. I'm all packed up, ready to go. Everything that needs to be drying is strapped on the back to flap around in the air, so I'm going to crack on, make the most of those quieter roads and cooler conditions. No point just laying there in your bed waiting for the day to get hot. So, exits that way. Here we are, 26 miles and 3 hours into day 2. Yep, that's right, 3 hours, just 26 miles. I'll show you why in just a second. Now, the roads from Rootham heading south are what I would call busy B roads. I had to contend with the early morning commuters, and now we're into the school run racers. Now, it's hilly around here. If I can show you the terrain that way where I'm from, I'll be able to see that there. And then if I, probably better showing you where I'm going to. It's hilly, it's busy, so plan your route, get onto these quieter roads as soon as you possibly can. Some of the B roads are pretty dangerous. Now shortly I'll be picking up the Cuckoo Trail, which will give me quite a few miles of flat stuff. It's a disused railway line, evidently it's a good cycle route, so it'll be goodbye massive hills, hello a little bit of flat old railway, coming soon. 33 miles into the ride and I've arrived at Heathfield, and this is the start of the Cuckoo Trail heading south. 10 miles or so of dead flat, no cars, cycling heaven. Unlike the rest of it around here. I mean, I know some cyclists like a lot of hills, but when you've got a bike that's loaded up like mine, hills are not really what you want to see. So this is fabulous for me. Now, there's another one of my top tips for cycles. If you're doing a cycle tour, try and look up any bits and pieces like this. The disused railway lines that have been made into proper made tracks for walkers and cyclists, and canal towpaths as well. They're a good one. Fantastic. Canals go up and down hills little bits, but tend to stay fairly flat. So this is fabulous for me. I'm looking forward to the next 10 miles. Well, I've arrived at the coast and it's windy, and I know that plays havoc with the sound quality on this little camera. So there you go, there's the coast. Really enjoyed the 10 miles of the Cuckoo Trail. Can't recommend that enough. There are some pretty steep hills just to get you to the coast. But where exactly am I? Well, there's the caravan park over there. Buckle, as in Belt Buckle Caravan Park. Perfectly situated because that's Newhaven, the port. It's just 5 or 6 miles around to the port in the morning to get the ferry. Half of that's on a cycle track. And down the other way on the coast, you might be able to see it down there, is a town of Seaford. Got some good pubs and restaurants in there to get some grub. I recommend the Old Plough in Seaford. Very good food, very hospitable people. Now also you might be able to notice there's a bit of a straight line on the near horizon there. That's a railway line. The trains do start going in and out right at the back of the caravan park about 6 o'clock in the morning. So you don't really need to set yourself an alarm to get yourself around to Newhaven in the morning, because the train's going will get you out of bed anyway. But there we go, that's it. Newhaven Caravan Park, Seaford. For dinner, that's where I'm going. Yay! So we've arrived, we're in Dieppe, we're in France, and I've just got off the ferry. Now there's only really one major thing I can tell you about the ferry that's going to be of interest to you, apart from the obvious. They charge something like £3 for a pan au chocolat, but it's standard, isn't it? Right, the thing you need to know is the plug sockets on there are few and far between if you want to recharge your phones and all that sort of stuff, and they're a European socket, so make sure you take your adapter for your chargers. European sockets on the ships. You have to get on there, search around quickly, get yourself a seat by a charger point, a plug socket, because they are few and far between, well sought after. So right, I will go to hit the roads in France. Some people would have you believe that northern France is flat, featureless and rather ugly. I would tend to disagree. The views over Martin-Église from Dieppe are absolutely fabulous. Rather fast little wiggly road, and I didn't stop to take a photograph, but never mind. A couple of things you will notice about the roads in France. This is supposed to be a busy road, and it's not particularly busy at all. There's a lot less traffic in France, and the road surfaces, they're far superior to anything you'll get in the UK. Do look out for the French drivers on their phones though. They do seem to still like using their phones in France while they're driving. We sort of eradicated that a lot in the UK. I knew I'd get a load of cars go past as soon as I said it was a lot quieter here. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I mentioned it earlier in the video, is go on Google Maps, put a little jelly baby person on the roads, see what the roads are like yourself, because I've tried to fathom the D numbering of the French roads. You get the D54, the D240, the D940, and you'd think maybe as the numbers got bigger the roads would get bigger, or as the numbers got bigger the roads would get smaller, or maybe the 9s were dual carriageways. No, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it at all. So unless you put your little jelly baby person on there, you could either find yourself on a road like this or something that resembles something not far short of a motorway. So I know where I'm going on a little back road, but just lovely. We love it. The strange things you see. Is that translated as the cruel sea? One of my favourite Second World War films? Or is it just the centre for the Borg out of Star Trek? Just another little point of note. They don't have speed limits as you go into French towns. Don't think that's because there aren't speed limits. There are speed limits. Every village, every town has what we would call a 30 miles per hour speed limit, and they just put up the village name. When you go past it, you're in the speed limit. You don't need to be told the speed as well. So there we go. There's the town name. And so I'm outside the EU at the moment. When you jog across, they put the red line through it as you're going out of the town. It just so happens that means I'm now in EU. But then if I jog back across the road, just a couple of yards, I'm now out of the EU, looking to go back into the EU. So now I'm back in the EU, looking to go out of the EU. Now I don't see what all the fuss was about. I've been in, out, no problem at all. Why is it taking so bloody long? Out of the EU or in the EU? rush hour in France. Here it comes. And there it goes. Done for another day. I'm just half a mile from my campsite for the end of day 3, well away from the coast now, into France. Terrain's turning quite flat, but do take into consideration your terrain that you're going to encounter. Obviously you have rivers flowing towards the English Channel, and if you're coming away from Dieppe and then going northeast, you're going to be going across the valleys. It's quite hilly. It's a bit like sort of anywhere in the south of England. But I'm getting into the flatter stuff now, and do also take into consideration the amount of miles you're going to put in after you arrive in France. I mean, I hit the coast of France at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, gave myself 40 miles to get to my campsite, which is the Domaine de Drancourt, and I know my French pronunciation is dreadful, but Domaine de Drancourt, it's a fabulous campsite. Stayed there before, really modern shower block, good hot food on site, nice restaurant if you're that way inclined, and you can get yourself a beer. Well spaced out, lots of space for everybody. It's just really nice, but it's 40 miles from Dieppe, and when you're on the beast of a bike, that's quite a lot to knock out. But I know I'm going to arrive there just in time for dinner, before the pizza place shuts down. But do have yourself a plan B, just in case you have a mechanical issue or whatever. Have a plan B as to where you might stop and where you're going to get some food. I've been through loads and loads of little villages, but you don't get many restaurants and, you know, chicken and chips shops. You just don't see them. It's not like the UK. You don't have a Nissa and a Spa in every village. It's houses, farms, houses. That's it. Anyway, I'm hungry. Got to get my pizza before they shut. But we'll crack on tomorrow, going through a few historical battle sites. So this is Domaine de Drancourt. Nice house, nice camping area down there, bar, pizza place, and little swimming pool complex if you bring your kids along. That's a great little open area swimming pool place. Right, now there's a Carrefour supermarket about a mile down the road, so you want to deal those sort of locations into your route as well, so you can pick up some supplies. Now, genius boy here, I'm all packed up and ready to go, but I'm not going anywhere this morning because I got talking to a nice couple in the bar there last night, Finola and Kevin from Southern Ireland. We were putting the world to rights, having a great old time, and then the lady came along and locked up in the bar and went home. And my phone's still on charge inside. So, genius. I won't be going anywhere until 9 o'clock. I've got absolutely no idea what the time is now. 7, 8, 6, who knows. Anyway, so get your route sorted out with food stops as well. I said earlier in the video that you don't see these little spas and Nissas in every village you go through. So, Carrefour down the road at some point later today. So I'm in Crecy, and the road name there, D111, is quite significant because allegedly when the French were naming and numbering their roads, they gave this road that goes north that way the moniker 111 because it looks like 3 arrows. And this is the Crecy watchtower, which is all broken and you can't even go up it. That's why I'm doing it down here. But this is the point where the French watched the Battle of Crecy unfold, or unravel as it was from their point of view, just over there. Now it was 1346. Edward III defeated the French, and it was the first use of the English longbows against the French. So I think it's quite admirable of the French to go to the trouble of naming the road the 111. 3 arrows. It goes right through the heart of the ancient battlefield of Crecy. It's a quiet little town now, but in 1346 there'd have been mayhem out there. But we're here, in a field, seemingly in the middle of nowhere. We've left Crecy behind us, 21 miles down the road that way. But back in history, the 100 Years' War was still raging on. Henry V was now on the throne, and he was here, in this field. And this is the field where France's nobility, their knights, virtually an entire generation of France's finest, at the end of the day, 25th of October, lay dead in this field. Victims, those English longbows. Now, when was it? Well, it's an English battlefield in France. The English like tea, easy to remember. 2:15. 1415, as you might want to say. So 1415, 25th of October. Yep, for those of you who know your history, you'll know that we're in Agincourt, or as the English like to pronounce it, Agincourt. We do that, don't we? We take names and we turn them around, mix them up a bit. But yeah, that's all there is. A couple of memorials to the absolute carnage, slaughter that took place on that day, 25th of October 1415. And it's really eerie being in places like this because there's just nothing going on. It's really quiet and peaceful. May they rest in peace. Now this is a place I've wanted to come to for a long time, so I've put it in on my trip. And those who know will know just by that. This is Coupole, the V2 rocket launch site in northern France. I'm going to take the tour. I don't think they allow you to video inside, but it's only €6 to get in. They reckon a tour can take up to 2.5 hours, so if you're really into your World War II stuff, you won't get much better value than this. Blimey, the old Germans, they didn't do things by halves. That's absolutely massive. Well, Coupole was a bit harrowing. I mean, I went in there with my engineer's head on. I've been an engineer since I left school, and I'm thinking about the structure of the building and the V2 rocket, and I wanted to see how it was all put together and how they were going to launch them and all that sort of thing. And then you get in there and you start hearing and reading the personal stories and all the slave labour and all that sort of thing, and it sort of hits you in the face a little bit. Definitely worth a visit. Like I said, it's only €6. But getting back to camping and campsites, just along the road from there is a place called Genets, Genets. It's a fishing place. They have a website. They don't answer emails. I've emailed them 3 times over the course of the spring, and they haven't replied once. I did use the Google Translate and sent the emails in French, but no, they don't respond. But fortunately, they had a pitch for me when I turned up. They didn't even know I was turning up when I got here. And what's even better is their handle on the English language is even worse than my handle on the French. So yeah, and we got no Wi-Fi either. Now, why that's an issue is because I have an issue with my bike. A few miles from the end, I became aware that I had a buckle, and one of my spokes is pulled almost clear through the rim, which has caused an imbalance of tension in the spokes, causing a buckle in the wheel, and that's what first alerted me that something was wrong. Now, you might have seen at the start of the video, I had my universal spoke tightening tool in the repair kit, and you probably thought, well, that's completely erroneous, nobody would ever need that, would they? But what I've had to do is loosen off some spokes on one side and tighten them up on the other side to try and counteract the loss of tension with that spoke pulled through. But any engineers out there will all be saying right now to the television screen, the computer screen, but you're putting extra tension on the spokes either side. And if that one's pulled through, then what about the other ones? Are they just about to pull through as well? Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking as well. So this wheel is seriously on its way out. I need another wheel. I've got no Wi-Fi, no internet coverage whatsoever. But tomorrow I push on to the coast by Dunkirk and then into Belgium, and I'm just hoping the back wheel holds together until I go past a bike shop, and then I'm going to have to throw myself at their mercy. And I think I did mention at the start of this video as well that I'd built myself in a buffer day. I'd done this trip once before, and I became acutely aware that we were booked on a ferry. You know, we had to do those miles, boom, we're on the ferry back to the UK. This time I've built myself a buffer day for any physical and mechanical breakdowns that might delay me. I think I have one there. Hopefully I'll get to a bike shop and it'll only set me back an hour or two, but who knows. But anyway, I'm now going to go and get myself a sandwich, because that's all they do here at Jeanette's. It's only €11 a night, but the showers are pretty bloody good actually. There's a rum bunch of French people in the bar area that all gave me the... You know, have you seen the film American Werewolf in London, where the Americans walk into the bar, everybody stops, looks, gives you the "what the hell are you doing here" look? Yeah, it's a bit like that. So I'm going to try and brave that atmosphere and get myself a jambon sandwich, because that's about all that's on offer, and then try and get a good night's sleep and worry about the back wheel and my bike holding together in the morning. But got a nice little breakfast stop just around the corner in the morning, so we'll concentrate on that little treat rather than problems I've got with the bike. Bye. Well, I probably did the people in the bar at Jeanette's a bit of a disservice earlier. I mean, it's that age-old story of people from around the world meeting other people from around the world. And I know France is only just across the water from England, but if you don't speak the same language, you might as well be from, I don't know, Peru. So they viewed me as a stranger, I viewed them as strangers, but a couple of pints of left later, a few words backwards and forwards in English and French, and we were talking about the World Cup and how we think that France and England might end up in a final. I mean, that ain't going to happen, but you know, it was all good conversation, broke the ice, and it even ended up with me showing them how to pour a pint of beer without that much head. And I said, in Angleterre it's that much head, and that's why we've got Brexit. You know, it all raised a bit of a laugh, and I suppose that's the key, isn't it? To break down a barrier, the universal language is comedy. If you can laugh at yourself, people laugh with you, and it was all good. It was all good. So Jeanette's, actually, it gets a bit of a thumbs up from me. It's really cheap. It's €11 for putting up your tent here. It was 24 at Domaine de Drancourt. I mean, that's a family site, and you get everything that goes with it. And I did get served up, what was my dinner here? It was sort of a ham sandwich with cheese on top, which I think was plasti cheese, and then toasted. It was unusual, but it was warm and it was edible. And warm eventually was the welcome I got here. So yeah, you know, it's not going to be like walking into your local hotel or campsite. You have to make a bit of an effort, put yourself out there, smiley face, laugh at yourself, and you'll get in. I'd give this a thumbs up. €11 for a campsite. That's pretty good, isn't it, really? Okay, pushing on tomorrow. We've got breakfast at the Bourbon Waffle Factory, and that opens at 9 AM. So I can get a good night's sleep. Don't have to worry about getting up early. And as for the bike, that's for tomorrow. Well, just down the hill from Jeanette's on the D77, which is an extremely fast road. You can go back into the village and come down the hill if you want to. is this place. Doesn't look anything special, does it? But it is, because if you know France, you may well have seen this logo in the shops, and they make these. The Bourbon factory outlet. It opens at 9 o'clock. Complete, just gorgeous. Mon petit déjeuner magnifique this morning. These are quite literally hot off the press. Dark chocolate and waffles. Marvellous. What a way to start the day. Just got to worry about the bike now. Just another quick little note about the road numbering in France. This is the D642. It is a proper busy road with big lorries zooming up and down. Now you could easily plonk yourself on that because you're thinking, that's a 642, that's probably a middle of the range road between the D2s, the 4s, the 9s, whatever. Well, as you can see, it's busy, it's dead straight. You get loads of lorries flying along there, so that's why you want to put your little jelly baby person on Google Maps on the roads to find out what they're like. And I've been tracking it virtually parallel on that. Now, which one would you prefer to cycle on? As you can see, it's really flat around here, but I'm pushing on now just a few miles to Cassel, not to be confused with the German Cassel with a K. This is Cassel with a C. It's a great big hill, an enormous hill. I dare anybody to try and cycle all the way up there, but it's a medieval town, absolutely beautiful, lots of bars, restaurants, cafes in the centre of town, and that's why we're going there. So I'll do a little bit of a video halfway up the hill, just so you can get some idea of just how steep it is, and then we'll push on into the town itself, and I'll grab myself a lemonade. And I've just got to get across to there, and I'm done with the 642. I've done all with about 30 metres of it. Well, this little camera is a bit all or nothing when it comes to zooming in, but that's where we've come from. We're 2/3 of the way up the hill into Cassel. Cassel has been fought over by the Romans, a myriad of French dukes, barons, the Spanish when they had control of the Netherlands, and the Grand Old Duke of York supposedly marched his 10,000 men up and down this hill. Well, good luck to them. Even the Irish were here. An Irish regiment of mercenaries was here with the Spanish to take this town, and it held out against the Germans, and a plucky retreat of the British expeditionary force back to Dunkirk. Now we all know the truth about that, and how Hitler told his generals to stop the tanks on the gates of Dunkirk. But Cassel did hold out and held things up for a little while. So that's some fantastic view from up here, and it's worth all the pain of coming up this hill when you get to the middle of the town for a lemonade. That's where I'm going right now. Well, that's the road up into Cassel. You can see the plains in the distance, and this is what it's all about. Beautiful old architecture, and over this side a row of cafes to die for. It's an absolutely stunning place, and I'm having a nice cold cola because I deserved it. But look at that, isn't it? That's what all the jibber jabber was about. And you've got restaurants here, cafes, to suit all tastes. I just love the buildings. It's really nice. It's lovely. Kawasaki over there as well. But anyway, we haven't come here to see motorbikes. I head off, still going a little bit uphill, up that way, and out of town. Well, I'm up at the crack of dawn. Sun just coming up over the buildings there. I stayed at a campsite last night called Mijnplaza. Oh, no idea how you pronounce that properly. It's M-I-J-N and then the second word's Plaza. It's a little bit further north than the big campsite, which is De Lombarde, but Mijnplaza is just down the road that way, quarter of a mile. Really, really friendly. A little bit groggy this morning because last night was Belgium winning the quarterfinals against Brazil in the World Cup. So I had 1 or 2 for the locals. Now, why am I doing a little bit of filming today? Because you wake up in the morning and you've got that to look forward to. It's some of my all or nothing zooming in with this camera. And back out again. 7.5 miles along the seafront. Like I say, it's 7:30 in the morning, so everything's closed, nobody about. But there are a myriad of bars and restaurants along here where you can get some breakfast. And if you've left a little bit late, maybe get an ice cream for breakfast. But I'm leaving early, as I said, so nothing open for me. But yeah, they got some fantastic beaches in Belgium and all the way up through Holland. It's absolutely lovely. Alright, later on today I must try and find somewhere to fix my back wheel. Properly arrived in Holland now. That's what you call a canal. Right, let's have a go at murdering the Dutch language, just like I've done all the other European languages as we've gone along. Just taken a ferry from Breskens to Vlissingen. I'm now on an island. I don't know the name of the island, but it's got a town in the middle of it called Middelburg. And that's where we're heading now. So in true British style, let's not bother trying to find out the real name. We'll call it Middelburg Island from now on. Right, the ferry from Breskens to Vlissingen. Brilliant. 23 minutes crossing, €4.20. What's that? It's about £3.50, something like that. Just turn up and go. You wouldn't get that in the UK, would you? You'd have to pre-book your mother's maiden name, your pet's first name, best bubble gum you ever had in the world, all those details. It cost a tenner, and then it'd probably be delayed. But there, get past these people. They ride ever so slowly out here. Different pace of life, I suppose. Middelburg! Middelburg Island it is. It's the morning in Vrouwenpolder. What can I tell you about Vrouwenpolder? Well, this is a nice little place for camping. We've got 2 really nice places to camp. One's called the Tvistvillet. I'll kill that name, why don't I? And a little bit further down the road that way is the Elsnord. And just a tiny bit further, about a quarter of a mile from where we are now, is the centre of the village. Probably see some of the houses over there. Right, centre of the village, Vrouwenpolder. You've got half a dozen good restaurants, pubs, bars there. It's not too noisy, nice family area, but if you want to find somewhere to watch the football and England getting through to the semi-finals of the World Cup, you can find that as well. And I'm a bit groggy this morning, but there we go. That's life, isn't it? Right, compare the 2 campsites. Tvistvillet, big fields out the back, pick your own plot. Elsnord down there, more compact, more of a community spirit. The Elsnord's about 50% more expensive though, so that's why I was here. And did I even mention yesterday, in all the excitement and panic of trying to get the bike fixed, that I actually did manage to get the new rear wheel on the bike at Blankenberg. Tom in the bike shop there, he fixed that all up for me, so that was fantastic. That's a real worry off my mind. Today, 50 odd miles to go to Rotterdam. There's a little trick I've got to show you of how to get to the port, because otherwise you're going to need to go on a massive detour right through the city centre. So a little way to get through that. And yeah, so I'm going to take it nice and steady today. Yesterday was a bit hard work. I think this is what they call a rush hour in Holland. We're going to be doing some island hopping on the way up to Rotterdam today. Look at that. I did say they had some good beaches here, didn't I? And what you might be able to see in the distance there, all those little towers sticking up, are actually massive, great big towers. That is a huge sluice gate letting out into the North Sea. So, like I say, going island hopping on the coast of Holland, and if you just look at the map, you'll think, no, there's a massive great big motorway going all the way up there. That's a big look at the motorway. I don't want to go anywhere near that on the bike. But this is Holland. It's completely separated from the road. I don't mean just by a line of bricks. I mean completely separated. get there. I'll do a little bit on the first sluice bridge thing as well. Really impressive engineering. Sorry to bang on about the engineering. I'm an engineer. Can't help it really. Now we're on the bridge that we saw with the towers and the motorway. We're just separated by a concrete barrier here, but once you get off right down there, cycle track goes completely separate to the road, and some places you can't even hear the traffic. Something you can hear at the moment, these towers, that's a massive great big sluice gate, and the water is rushing in or rushing out. Rushing in at the moment, I think. Inland waterways over there, North Sea that way. Now, I was here last year with my daughter. It was pouring with rain, and it was rather grey and murky, but the water was rushing out. I think the idea is collect the water in these massive, great big man-made lakes coming from all their dikes and things all around Holland, and then when the tide goes out in the North Sea, you open the gate and whoosh, it rushes out. Now, it was really impressive last year. I'm going to put that little video in this video, if I can find it, and I'm sure it'll be absolutely seamless, no continuity issues whatsoever. But, yeah, big engineering. Okay, so we're on one of the big bridges that crosses from the southern part to the northern parts of Holland, and this is an enormous bridge. Goes for at least a mile, I'd say, and it's a massive great big lock as well. Look at the current going out into the North Sea. You wouldn't want to get caught in there. And those astute amongst you will have noticed that the raincoats are on again. It's been absolutely pouring again. We've got about half an hour to put the tent up and then it lashed down. Right, on we go. More later. Couldn't even see the join, could you? Well, this seems to be as good a place as any to talk about road numbering and naming as we've gone through France, Belgium, and now we're into Holland, and to point out a few of the differences that you'll need to keep an eye out for. Now, back in France, you get to a road junction and the road numbers are all there. It's the N247 that way, the N484 that way. So if you know the road number that you need to take at each junction, you can't really go wrong. And all the town names that you're heading to, really well signposted as well. If you are looking for individual roads, little roads off of the main road, in the UK we don't tend to have the road names, little posts on the side of the road. We do in towns, but not out in the countryside. Now they do out in the countryside of Belgium, but not France. But they're really small, anyway. They are really, really small. Some of them are probably only A4 size, and you're supposed to spot those and take the road. So try not to rely on looking for actual road name signs at the side of the road. Cycle tracks, yeah, little bit on cycle tracks. This is a cycle track. That's a road behind me that you can hear. So look, we've got a cycle track T-junction here. It's nothing to do with the road. There's a completely individual cycle network in Holland. I know we've all heard about it, but until you're here, or you watch one of these videos, you don't really know for sure. And this is typical. This is why I've stopped here. We're in between towns. We're out in the countryside here, and we've got T-junctions, everything. Now, you don't just get that, you get this as well. You get your cycle, routes marked out for you as well. It's absolutely brilliant. Back in France, not many cycle lanes at all. Belgium, a fair few, but Holland, it really is cycling heaven. But yeah, I've never ever in any other country seen road signs just for cyclists. Brilliant. Right, this is the little cheat I was on about. Maasluis is over there. This is Rosenberg. I've just come across the river. The North Sea's out that way. Rotterdam, over the shoulder. €1.30, one bike, one person to get from there to here. And if you don't use this ferry, you have to go right into Rotterdam and do a 20-mile detour to get round to the Hook Island. So, quarter of a mile, I could probably swim that. I'd rather pay €1.30 and get across there than do another 20 miles right through the centre of Rotterdam. I like little cheats like that. Bloody marvellous. Last little video from Holland and my last little top tip from Europe, and that would be check your kit. I'm sitting in a nice little bar at the Hook of Holland. The port is just around the corner. There are 3 or 4 restaurants down the road here. I hadn't intended on staying here and sampling the local delicacies, but I've got a puncture, and the glue in my puncture repair kit, sell by date, must be that same year as when 99 Red Balloons was in the charts. Don't know if you can hear this, stuck in the 80s in Rotterdam. Yeah, so I've got a puncture, can't fix it, haven't got a tube got used when to change the wheel. I don't know what a tube got changed when to change the wheel, but there we go. Anyway, so got a puncture, can't fix it, got to get on a ferry, got to push it to Howlett's, I think it's a local bicycle repair shop, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, because it's a Sunday and everywhere else around here is shut. So I can't fix my bike with Heineken, but I can forget about my bike with Heineken. Just hope I remember to get around the ferry. 7:30. Quite friendly here. Check the kit. We're in Harwich. Got the overnight ferry. This is all you're going to see, don't worry. I've got the overnight ferry. An English couple came to my rescue just before I needed to get on the boat. A Dutch couple had tried to help. A German couple had tried to help. I know it sounds like a terrible joke, but it's not. And an English couple whipped out an inner tube, brand new inner tube, the right size for my bike. Got my bike all back together, and it's on the boat. And yeah, it's great. The ferry's really good. The food's fairly cheap, £10 for fish and chips. One tip I would say about your bike on the boats: you have to tie them up on racks, sort of fencing downstairs on the car deck, as you do on the Newhaven to Dieppe ferry. It's a bit of a bun fight, so I would recommend that you get everything you're going to need for your overnight and the next day in a bag. I went with the really posh Le Bim bag, so you can just get on the ferry, whip that bag off your bike, tie it up and get upstairs. It's a real bun fight down there when you get on the ferry. It's even worse when you're trying to get off. So yeah, I just order that lot. Went in my posh bin bag over there. No Louis Vuittons for me. And you don't start sorting your bike out, what you want and what you don't want, once you're on the ferry. Do that while you're in the queue waiting to get on. But anyway, just let me off the boat. I want to go home. Well, that did sort of turn into a bit of a holiday video, didn't it? I'm sorry about that. But there was a lot of information in there as well about how to solo cycle ride. And one of the things I think we've learnt is that even though you may be on a solo cycle ride, on the bike, having your adventure, if you should have problems, a smile, friendly demeanour, there are plenty of people out there just waiting to help you out. Now, the other thing we've learned is it's all in the planning. Plan for the worst, hope for the best, I suppose is a good catchphrase. You can't take spare parts for everything. That little spoke tightener did come in handy, but it's pointless thinking, oh, I'll take a spare back wheel with me just in case. You've got to draw a line somewhere, haven't you? So, plan, and have a backup plan. That's it. Now, if you found any of this information interesting, entertaining, or inspiring to make you go and do your own cycle ride, then please donate just a couple of pounds to the Felix Fund. I've never been in the armed forces myself, but I do live just around the corner from 2 or 3 engineering regiments at Carver Barracks in North Essex. They're fantastic. They are the ones that deal with the IEDs and all that sort of thing out in Iraq and Afghanistan. They could do with your help. The Felix Fund is the Royal Engineers Divers and Dispatch Riders charity, so please, if you've got a few spare pence, send a cheque off to them. All the details are on the Felix Fund's website. So, thank you very much. I know this video has gone on quite some time. I hope you found it entertaining, and I hope you found a whole list of things, the do's and don'ts of cycle touring. So, I'll spin this around. I say bye bye. Look out for my video with my son where we cycled to Cornwall. Similar sort of video. I'll try and keep it a bit shorter next time though. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you've got a few pounds, they'd appreciate it. So would I. Bye bye.